Um, my name's Alan Davey. I'm Chief Executive of Arts Council England, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this second State of the Arts Conference on behalf of the Arts Council and the RSA. We're very proud of this conference. We were very pleased with the response we got last year, and talking to people, we felt it was appropriate to have such a conference again this year because, as we all know, such a lot has changed in the last year or so. We're all dealing with a changed world of various kinds, and we're all dealing with changes in our financial circumstances in various ways. You'll meet lots of staff from the Arts Council in the audience with you today. Some of them look very bleary-eyed indeed, as they've been going through 1,340-something applications for our national portfolio organisations. And let me tell you, we're well on track with going through those applications. But forgive us if we do look a little tired. About a week ago today, I was at a press launch for the wonderful, wonderful Hepworth Gallery in Wakefield, which will be opening in May. And I said then that now is not the time for the arts to pull the duvet over their heads and wish the world will go away. Far from it. And let me say, first of all, I know that a lot of you had to fling off the duvets quite heavily this morning in order to get here. And one of the things that we're very clear about is that when we have this conference next year, we'll have it outside London. And we'd be very grateful during the day for your suggestions on where we might have it. We think today is an important conversation. It's important for us to discuss and affirm to ourselves and others the value and purpose of the arts, and the importance of innovation and our relevance going forwards. I'm very clear that when we make spending decisions for the next 4 years, it's not going to be about retreat. It's not going to be about closing in on ourselves. That we've got to allow some innovation and ambition, because otherwise we'll be in a spiral of decline, and that's not what we want, not what any of us want, and it's our job as the Arts Council, and Liz will say more about this, to make sure that we don't do that. We've got some innovations at the conference today. You'll see in your packs reference to the Flash conference that you can follow on #SOTA Flash. That's right. During the day, and there's various points in the day where you can go and physically participate in the Flash conference. That's in the Thames Room conference level +1. This is a very confusing place. +1 is +1 up. Is +1 up? Yeah, anyway, I think it is. Between 11:20 and 12 and 4 and 4:30. And there'll be all kinds of provoking things happening there. We've taken the opportunity to commission 4 provocations, which are available on the website. But one of them is available in physical form, so if you violently disagree with the authors, you can use it as a kind of weapon, if you wish. But we'd rather you kind of had robust discussion about it. During the day, you can access a free Wi-Fi network. What you have to do is log into the Plaza Conf web thing, and then put in the password SOTA11, put in the network SOTA11 and the password SOTA11, and you can tweet and follow things on #SOT11 during the day. Bit of housekeeping. If there's a fire, the exits are clearly marked, so please leave via those. And there are toilets of all kinds on each floor. If you need any extra information, Helen on the desk outside will be happy to help. And now I'd like to hand over to Matthew Taylor, Chief Executive of the RSA and co-author of the provocation, see, it is a good weapon, on arts funding, austerity in the big society. Matthew.
Well, thank you, Alan. I was just sitting worrying, actually, about the fact that I'm going to make a short speech, and at the end of the speech I then have to give you your housekeeping details, and what's concerning me about that is you won't know when to applaud. Just so you know, thank you. Thanks, Ed. So just, the last line of the speech is "let the debate begin," which I thought was a kind of nice rhetorical flourish. So when you hear "let the debate begin," if you feel like applauding, that's the time to do it, before I segue into talking to you about mobile phones and toilets, okay? Just fine. So welcome to State of the Arts, and what we think will be a fantastic and timely opportunity for the sector to debate where it is and where it needs to go. I'm going to speak very briefly about a pamphlet that John, Nell and I have written for the conference, which I think is in your conference pack. Anyone who knows John, or more to the point, anyone who knows me, will know that all the incisive cleverness in this pamphlet is John's and all the vacuous waffle is mine. But nevertheless, because I'm the Chief Executive of the RSA, I've been the one who's been invited to speak about it. But you can catch John at any point in the day and he can tell you the truth and a proper account of what's in the document. Now, the document really starts, I think, from two positions, or has two starting points. The first is the RSA, and why it is, in a sense, we are delighted to be involved in this conference with Arts Council England. The RSA last year launched a new strapline, and that strapline is 21st Century Enlightenment. And this idea of 21st Century Enlightenment has three components to it. The first is a belief that for society to flourish and prosper, we need an enhanced model of human functioning. We need to enhance human capability. We need citizens in the future, in aggregate, to be more engaged, to be more resourceful, and to be more altruistic, more pro-social. The second pillar of 21st Century Enlightenment is that if we are going to enhance human capability, we need to really understand human nature. We need to get away from the myth of Homo economos and understand that human beings are social, emotional, idiosyncratic, collaborative. We have to understand who we really are as human beings. And the third pillar of this idea of 21st Century Enlightenment is if you put the first two together, the idea of enhancing human capability and an understanding of who we really are as social animals, this leads you to want to think again about the foundational ideas of the Enlightenment itself, the idea of autonomy, universalism, humanism, or as we put them more commonly, freedom, fairness and progress, to problematise those ideas, to think about them more deeply and in different ways. So that's the kind of RSA starting point. The second starting point is, from John and I, is whilst there is in both of us a recognition of the incredible achievements of the arts sector over recent years in particular, there's also a kind of impatience at the less than fully robust arguments that are sometimes made in this sector's defence. And in particular, an impatience with the tired dichotomy between so-called instrumental and intrinsic arguments, or arts for art's sake arguments. We say in the pamphlet, the problem is that the rhetoric of debates about arts funding too often imply a choice between the case for intrinsic value made in terms chosen by the arts community and a case for instrumental value made in terms chosen by the policy-making community. Here, we suggest a different possibility, making a robust instrumental case for arts funding, but in terms that recognise what is different and special about artistic participation and appreciation. Or to put it another way, that the arts sector should not be afraid to say that it is in the business of shaping good citizens for the good society. Or, as Mukhtar Konkache says in his brilliant provocation, we need a new social contract for the arts. But if we're going to do that, having made this assertion, and it is a bold assertion, we need to be willing to defend it in ways which are robust, coherent, and sometimes, even at a time like this, when the temptation to huddle around in a feeling of self-pity and victimisation, even at a time like this, to be self-critical. This requires the sector to examine also important elements of its own practice. How, for example, do we continue, and in fact, how do we accelerate progress in having a sector which is more diverse and in tackling issues of access? As Diane Rugsdale says in her provocation, how do we shift from mattering to a few to mattering to the many? And also, how can our sector be more able to, in the future, in this business, as it were, of thinking about good citizens for the good society, how can we emphasise more participation and collaboration as being at the heart of our endeavours? Or as Peter Aston says in concluding his provocation, there may be less money in the pot for the arts, but there is also less ego. It may be that collaboration is being forced on culture in the short term, but it's also part of a profound and lasting shift in our artistic sensibilities. Now, it's a long pamphlet, and it's a pamphlet which contains, without any obvious irony, the phrase eudaimonic constructivism. So feel free to come up to me and John at any point in the day and simply slap us. But we hope that at least, in writing the pamphlet, we can contribute to a day which we hope is absolutely about having that kind of self-critical and self-aware conversation. Or, as one might put it more pithily, let the debate begin.